Welcome to LOA Today. Walt Thiessen, Alex King, and Bill G here. Today is Tuesday, March the 12th, 2019. It's 4 p.m. in New York. It's 1 p.m. in Los Angeles. It's actually 8 p.m. in London because we're in between the changes of daylight savings time. Sydney, Australia, it's morning. I think it's about 7 a.m. there. But wherever you are in the world, thank you for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. And I'm happy that we're back with the three of us. Last week we were kind of we were in a funny mood last week, and I'm not sure exactly how it's going to work out this week. In fact, Alex, every time that you're on the show with me, this should not be a surprise. But every time you're on the show with me, there's something funny that's going on, right? I mean, is
Yep.
there ever an exception to that?
No, that's my personality. That's how I
That's
come
it.
wherever.
Yeah, that's what you bring to one of the many things you bring to the table. And today you bring
Yep.
a new phone to the table. You got a nice, clear, crisp picture today. You're on a new phone.
Right? You can see my freckles. It's amazing. I love
I tell you, you're looking good there, girl. Looking really good.
it.
And you were telling us before the podcast, this is like a phone. You can be taking, video and film in, or, photos in any direction all at the same time. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
this is a phone that has, that offers no privacy to anybody who's around you.
Nope. As a matter of fact, I took a picture. I went to the doctor's office the other day, and I was in the waiting room, and this Indian guy had his shoes off, and I took a picture of him and posted it on Instagram because I was like, "Are we really though? 2019, this is what we're doing." He was just sitting there with his shoes off, barefoot, in the middle of, I was like, "You're not home."
Uh,
Oh,
there's no explaining some things. That's all there is to it. But let's
exactly.
just
Sometimes.
say, let's just say he's trying to attract new shoes. How's that?
There you
Okay.
Hey, you know what? I took a shot. And our friend Bill
Oh,
G is also back and smiling and in a good mood. How you doing? I mean, I'm kind of setting you up and saying that you're in a good mood and then asking you how you're doing. But how you doing?
I'm doing fine. Life is interesting.
It is.
Like,
Life, it does not consist of fastballs. It consists of curveballs and sliders, and that's what you have
yes,
to
it
be
does.
catching and
Yes, it
hitting all the
does.
time.
I mean,
Yes.
we did get hit with a curveball last night. We are not moving to New Hampshire like we thought we were. The acupuncture practice emailed us very late last night and informed us that after they crunched some numbers, they realized that they can't take on an extra acupuncturist. So back to Plan A.
Hmm.
Plan A was always to work on building the practice here and hitting the psychic fairs, making public appearances, making speeches. I mean, I've already got a decent gig booked up. I'm looking forward to future gigs and letting people know that I'm out there and that I'm someone to come and talk to.
Good for you. Good. That's the way to do it. You got a good attitude about it, and if you and Nina have that attitude, you're going to come out of it just fine. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, last night when it hit, it was like, all right, well, how do you feel about this? And I was checking in on my emotions, and I was like, I'm not mad about this. I'm
Mm.
not sad about this. Okay. Life threw me for a curveball. It's okay. We'll just roll with it.
Hmm. No, that's good. That's a good thing. Yeah, that's something we need to um, practice more and to implement more in our lives,
Hmm.
including Louise and I. We've had a couple of curveballs this week. One really big curveball got thrown for a strike. We whiffed. We just missed it entirely. But there are more pitches coming, so life's okay. It's just
Yeah.
a question of maintaining that positive attitude in the midst of, oh darn, I just struck out.
Yeah.
yeah.
Not always easy to do. I was trying to decide as we were starting the podcast, do we work on the fictional podcast show idea that we have, or do we just do some regular LOA stuff? And I'm still not sure which way to go on. So I'm kind of leaning toward not doing it because we've done a lot of work. I mean, Alex, you and I have been doing quite a bit of work on it, um,
Yep.
and we've made a lot of progress. And I kind of feel like I need to just kind of work through the characters a little bit more because I mean, Alex, you add a lot of detail to the characters. I need to kind of go
Hmm.
through and get a feel for what that's all about. Bill, you came up with an idea for an opening scene, which was really, I mean, it was great that you did that. It was wonderful.
Mhm.
Um, and I think there are a couple of problems. The biggest problem being you wrote it like it was a fiction book, and this is a podcast, and
Oh
things
yeah,
like
yeah,
yeah, it makes it a little bit kind of tough for them to know that she's drinking wild turkey if they can't see her drinking wild turkey. It's kind of
oh,
difficult,
yeah,
and
Yeah.
and you learn about the state of her dress, and they can't see her dress, so you have to have either like a narrator explaining that this is what you're seeing or something like
yeah,
that. So yeah, that creates a little bit of a problem, but
Yeah, it needs to
yeah,
be
but
in
still, you took a good step. What was
screenplay
that?
the
mode. Or it
screenplay
needs to be
format.
yeah, screenplay format.
Okay,
Yes. Yeah, that's the biggest thing right there.
you
And
get yeah. I'm a novelist.
I understand. I've written the same way. I know exactly how that is.
Yeah.
When your sister is a playwright, you also learn the importance of writing as a screenplay and what
Hmm.
the trials and tribulations are that are involved in that.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's quite a deal all by itself. Um, But I think we need to do a little bit of more work off screen. So I'm going to go to, let's just talk some basic LOA stuff today, and
Okay.
maybe we can pick it up next time. But thank you for doing that. That was really great. And thank you, Alex, because you're plugging away too. So we're moving this thing along. I'm really hopeful that we're going to be able to have a script in place and maybe even figure out who the cast is going to be by, like 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, something like that. Now, that's a pretty
Yeah.
aggressive schedule, but I think it's, you know, well, it is. I mean, how long does Hollywood, take to put a movie out? They take, a
Years,
year and a half
years.
sometimes, with huge budgets and massive numbers of people working on it. Now, this isn't movies. This is just a podcast.
Right.
But
I mean,
even so,
I actually I have a story to share.
what's that?
My yeah, in that Hollywood area, a I love to play. I'm a big fan of Dungeons and Dragons, and
Ah,
I've got there's a podcast out there. Actually, not well, the podcast, video, YouTube, whatever group called Critical Role. Maybe
okay.
some of your listeners know about it. And they play Dungeons and Dragons every Thursday night, and they're there for 4.5 hours playing
Mm,
just watching
this is
voice
great.
actors play Dungeons and Dragons. Well, they're on to their second campaign now, and they had this idea to turn their first campaign into an animated special. Now it takes, I mean, they're all in the voice acting industry, so they know what it takes to put together something like
Yeah.
this. And
Hmm.
so they estimated that it would take $750,000 to do one episode of
Wow.
an anime of a half hour, a 22-minute half hour episode takes $750,000. And they pitched the idea to a number of different studios, and nobody really thought that they didn't want to take the risk on a Dungeons and Dragons based animated show because it's been done before and maybe there's not enough interest out there. So they did it as a Kickstarter campaign.
Hmm.
And so they reached out to their fans and said, okay, we want to we're going to do a 40-day campaign. It's still going on right now. And we want to raise, $750,000 so we can do this one episode. In the first 12 hours after it went live, they raised $3 million.
Wow.
And at last check, they are at over $7 million. And the
Whoa.
thing is, this is only what 8 days.
They
So
have some serious numbers of followers going on there. I mean, that's
they're
serious numbers.
$8 million, and if they hit 10 million, they've got an entire season of
Wow.
episodes. And it's not like
Wow.
they have a shortage of material. They got plenty of material to actually come up with this series. And what's really cool about it, I mean, and the reason why I bring it up is it's a really great LOA story in that
Yeah.
they this group is always playing catch up with their fans because these are people who love each other very, very much, and you can see that on camera every single time that these are best friends, and they're all playing this game together, and they have this passion for their fans, and their fans have a passion for them,
Wow.
and And so they're always, whenever they do these charity campaigns and whatever, they're always they set their sights at a certain level, and their fans are always surpassing it.
Wow.
And whenever that happens, they're like, thank you guys. I mean, and they just let that gratitude come in every single time. And you can see that they're not letting it get to their heads. They're not like, oh my gosh, we're in orbit now and whatever. They're very responsible with the money or whatever. Every penny they're raising, they don't get to keep any of that. That's all going into the series.
Right.
And it's just a testament to people who vibrate at a high level. And that's what's so great about them. Every one of them vibrated at a high level, which is why I watch them. And even when they're just doing a boring shopping episode on Dungeons and Dragons, role-playing games can sometimes get boring sometimes. I still want to watch them. I still want to see them, because just to take in that vibration is just absolutely awesome. And so, absolute kudos to these guys. I love and admire every one of them.
That's really fantastic. Now, meanwhile, of course, there has been an increase in membership at networkexecutivesonprobation.com for all the network executives who let this job go.
Yeah.
Not realizing what kind of an audience there was behind it, but that's all right. They'll get off probation. They'll be fine. Law of attraction works in all kinds of ways on the same thing over and over and over. It's
Yes,
amazing.
it does.
So let's see. I mean, I really didn't have anything planned, as you can tell, because I was kind of deciding during the podcast what we're going to do. So I'd say, why don't we just, I don't really see any questions coming through. Jeffrey made a nice comment about the guy with no shoes, but other than that, there's nothing really coming through. So I'd say let's did you see that one, Alex? He said,
No, I
I'm
didn't
more
see
comfortable.
the comment.
He says, I'm more comfortable with someone with no shoes than I am with someone taking a photo of me without my permission.
Well, then wear your shoes, and you won't have a picture taken.
There you go.
Wear your shoes at all times. Take them off at home.
Jeffrey is also in a silly mood today. This is a good thing. So,
Is Jeffrey
yeah,
one of those people that takes his shoes off when he's on an airplane? Because I hate those people.
only
Oh,
when I sit
no.
behind them. That's when I really hate them. Other than that, it's fine.
No, it's even worse when you're sitting in front of them and they put their feet through where the arch
Oh,
is. That's the worst.
Okay. Now I'm seriously getting grossed out, so we're going to avoid that topic. We'll start a new Facebook group, people who don't like people who take their shoes off on airplanes.
That'll get so many people. So many people.
Probably violates a Facebook rule somewhere. But no, I figured we could probably do one of those fun little games where we each try to come up with a question for us to address and kind of go around in a circle and see what we've got. And since I'm hitting you guys with that right now, I'm just going to come up with the first question. Let's see. Well, yeah, Jeffrey actually followed up. He says it's a day that ends in Y, so therefore I'm in a silly mood. Yeah, sure, of course, that makes sense. So, question number one for the day is, okay, well let's go with what we're talking about here. Law of attraction shows up in all kinds of amazing different ways. What's probably the most surprising example of law of attraction that either occurred in your life or occurred in the life of somebody that you know or somebody that you know of? In other words, any story that you can think of, it's the most, whoa, that one really caught me by surprise example. Can you think of one that fits that one, Bill? Can you think of an example of that?
oh crap. I'm sorry. I was totally wigged out there for a second.
Bill, I'll give you the easy out. Just blame the internet connection. It was the internet connection.
It was
You
the
just didn't
internet
get the whole
connection.
question.
I'm so
Yes,
sorry.
So that's the deal. I'll repeat the question for you. I'll go to
Okay.
Alex. I'll even give you an extra minute. I'll go to Alex for
Okay, cool.
first
Thank
answer.
you.
But the question is, what's the best example, the most amazing, incredible example of law of attraction that either happened in your life or someone you know or even someone you know of? What's the one that really blew your socks off more than anything else? That was the general question.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm
What's you
definitely
got,
gonna
Alex?
have to say how I met my boyfriend.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Because that was definitely unexpected, and I was pleasantly surprised. So yeah.
You want to touch on the highlights of that one?
The highlights. Okay, so I was on a dating app for about a year and a half, almost 2 years, and I was talking to it was when I first started doing podcasts with you, and Carlos and I were doing our first episode on dating apps, and
Right.
he was like, "Have you tried this dating app?" And I was like, "No, never heard of it." So I ended up trying it, and, after a couple of talking to a couple of dudes, I was like, you know what? I give up. I'm done. But I left the app on my phone. And I got a message from this guy, his name Mike, and he messaged me and he said, "Hi, I like your dogs because I have my dogs on my page." And he said, "I don't like to text. Can I have your number?" And I said, "It depends. What are your intentions?" And
Hmm.
he said, "To buy you flowers and treat you right." And I was like, "Okay."
You're a soft sell.
Because no one's ever said that before. I usually end up getting like pictures of, members and stuff like that. So it was a pleasant uh, surprise. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
that's a good
we,
one.
and we, yeah, we've been dating ever since. So law of attraction worked for me. But
Pretty
everything works
cool.
out for me in general. My whole life is law of attraction. So
Okay, well that's cool. That's really well. Actually, I guess everybody's life is law of attraction when we really come
true.
down to it. But you
Fact.
recognize that. That's what sets you
Yeah.
ahead of the pack, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good stuff. Good stuff. How about you, Bill? What's your knock your socks off story?
Well, okay. Well, not a whole lot knocks my socks off in general because I'm a pretty mellow guy.
Okay.
But
Just as well if you're in a waiting room too with somebody with a camera around, you know.
that's true. That's um, well, about a year ago, though. Actually, it's been more than a year now. Um, my mother-in-law, she lives with us, and uh, she can't teach anymore, and so she was getting very bored with life. And whenever before she moved in with us, she always had animals. She had dogs and cats to take care of. And we were thinking to ourselves, wouldn't it be great if she had some cats to take care of? And so we were like, okay, but so we brought it up to her, can we get you a cat? She was like, oh no, 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 I don't want you to go out and getting a cat. We're like, okay, all right, we'll just let it go then. But we still put that intention out there. And then a friend of ours was moving, and she had two cats, and she was moving into a place that didn't take cats. And she said, why don't you guys, could you guys foster my cats for a little while?
Hmm.
You know, 8 weeks tops. All right, while I get settled in a new place that takes cats.
Uh-huh.
That was 13 months ago,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
and so
Yeah.
we have two cats now. And my mother-in-law is in charge of cleaning the cat box in the morning and feeding them and whatever, and they are members of the family. And so there it is. Law of attraction brought in two new members to the family, Pickle
That's
and
a
Polly.
cool story. Yeah. What are they called?
Pickle and Polly.
Pickle and Polly. Okay. Very nice. Actually,
Pickle
go ahead.
uh, Pickle is a black cat. He was named that way because when he was a little kitten, he was the type of little kitten that bounced around a lot. And like how you have a pickle is if you throw it on the floor and it bounces.
Ah.
That's the difference
Okay.
between a
What?
cucumber and a bounce and a pickle. A pickle will bounce.
Oh, okay. I was like, you need to clear that up because I'm
Yeah,
like, who's running around bouncing pickles off the floor? Like, what's
yeah.
going on?
And
Who live
Polly
very
is
sheltered lives.
yes. And Polly is a polydactyl cat, so she's got an extra toe on her front paws,
Oh, I love them.
and so that's why her name's Polly.
Okay.
Cute,
That's cool.
cute.
Actually, I have a similar story, but it's mine's part of a much bigger story that I've told previously. but it's how we ended up moving from Virginia to Connecticut. And I won't tell the whole story because the whole story takes about a half an hour to tell. But the very, very short version is we managed to manifest a new home, 2 new cars, a job, and 2 cats, all within about, well, the cats happened within about a 5 month period. The rest of it happened in about a 2 week period. And it was crazy. It was just a plain crazy story. But this guy who's sitting in my lap here, I can show people who are watching the live stream. That's the little guy there who, um, one of the two who joined us. Both of them are black cats, Harmony and Joy. And yeah, they found us actually. They were abandoned by the people across the street from us, and they came to us about I want to say a few months after Louise said to me for about the fifth or sixth time, wouldn't it be great if we had cats? And of course, Joy shows up and says, "Hey, we're here. Would you like to adopt us? Like our owners abandoned us." So we did. It was cute. It was a nice story. The rest of the story, though, I don't want to have to live through that one again. That was insane. That was the craziest time of my life ever. I mean, all those things, no money, got rid of 2 old vehicles, got 2 new vehicles, brand new, which we couldn't afford, but they gave them to us anyway at tremendous discounts. Got the new house, got the new job. I mean, everything. It was just like compacted it into this one time frame. And I mean, it was nice to know the law of attraction was looking out for us. I could have stood having it done in a less stressful way. But other than that, it was great.
That's not how it works.
Well, especially if you're vibrating stress. And I was vibrating a lot of stress. I was really in stress mode. So was Louise. We were stressed out. So we got the stressful.
Trials and tribulations to appreciate the joy.
I guess so, yeah. So.
And,
all right,
and
so that was. And Harmony, yes. Well, Harmony's in the other room. That's okay. So there's my question. Either one of you have a question that we can address, a topic, something for us to answer?
I do.
Okay.
Go for it.
Okay. How do you know when you are supposed to keep someone in your life that is going through something toxic, or do you let them go? Like, how do you know that you're supposed to stay with them to, wait until the sunshine comes out on the other side? Or do you let them go for your own peace of mind?
Okay. I can answer it, but do you want to go first, Bill?
You go first. I'm
Okay.
still cooking.
Okay. Well, my answer is actually in 2 parts. The first part of the answer is, do you want to keep that person into your life? Because the way you phrased it was should you, and should really doesn't have anything to do with it. It has more to do with what do you want. I mean, it's not like there's a moral rule that says you must keep this person into your life or you must throw this person out of your life. There's no rule like that. So what do you really want? That's really the first part of the question as far as I'm concerned. And then the other part is based on the first part. I mean, it really comes down to that first part. What do you want? If you really want that person in your life, then you ride it out with them. That's what a friend does, right? A friend sticks it out with them. If you don't want them in your life, then you part company as soon as possible. You probably should have parted company 3 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
So it really comes down to that. What do you really want? Now, having said that, I will point out that, and I don't think this is true of you, but I know of a lot of people who this would be true of. There are a lot of people who would make that decision based upon the should factor, kind of like the way you phrased it, but they would take that really seriously. They would say, well, I really have an obligation to this person. I really should because that's the way you're supposed to treat people, or no, I don't have an obligation, or something along that line. And to me, that all goes back to step one. This is all a step one thing. What do you want? It all comes down to that. There's no should. Everybody has the right to choose exactly what they want in their lives, whether it be people, things, events, anything. You have the right to decide. Now, are there consequences that go along with those decisions? Sure. Yeah, no matter which way you go, there's always consequences. But it's really up to you. So, I mean, for something like that, I'd go down deep and say, what do I really want?
Right. Bill?
Okay. Yes.
Did I give you enough time there, Bill?
Sometimes.
Do you need more time?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
Let's see. Sometimes people will ask me that question while we're in a session doing SRT, because we use the pendulum to douse questions like that sometimes, and they ask themselves, what should I do? Should I stay with this person? Should I let them go and whatever? And generally, the spirit doesn't like questions like that
Mm.
because, again, what you're doing is you're coming up with a judgment, and the better question is what is the percentage or intensity of positive energy towards maintaining the relationship with this person, and what is the percentage of negative energy.
Very
And then
specific.
what you do is if it looks like the negative energy outweighs the positive energy, you research it to figure out what kind of relationship do you have with this person. What are your past life connections? Um, what are the lessons that you are learning together as souls traveling on this road together? If you find though that if through the research you realize that, okay, maybe it's best that this person not be in your life, then it will indicate that. If it says that no, this is something that you need to be working on or something you need to be building, that the problem isn't with the other person. Whatever they're going through that's toxic is actually something that's toxic that's going on in you, and you're only perceiving that it's toxic for the other person.
Mm.
Then that's something that we can clear and we can work on. And maybe the relationship isn't as toxic as you think it is, because sometimes you run into this with people who are married as well, or you're dealing with family members or parents or whatever. You are like I had my client the other day was saying that he really wanted to have he wanted his parents to go away because his parents are just they're toxic all the time. They're always criticizing him. And then I said, well, what do you want? Because we focus. He was focusing on what he didn't want. And I said,
Mm.
well, let's focus on what you want. Tell me what you want. He says, I want a better relationship with my parents.
Ah.
Well, you can't do that if you divorce them.
Well, let's just say it's more challenging that way.
It is, yes, it is more challenging. You can't. So again, we researched it. We pulled up the charts and we came up with what the lesson was in why he chose to be with them, and why continuing the relationship was in his best interest.
Hmm. Okay, that's good. Before we come to you for your question, I got a question from Jeffrey. He says, when we receive what we ask for all at the same time, is that the result of sporadic focusing as opposed to continual or gradual increases in focusing? Let me repeat that. When we receive
Yeah,
what
yeah,
we ask for all at the same time, is that the result of sporadic focusing as opposed to continual or gradual increases in focusing?
I think it could be both of those, but also one other thing. Sometimes you need to, let it go and not think about it at all, and
Hmm.
just let the universe handle it for you. You know what I mean? So it could be one of those three. It depends on the situation. You can never tell.
Yeah, it's hard to draw a generalization from that because there are so many different possibilities in that question.
Mhm.
What do you think, Bill? Do you spot anything that you can kind of help
well,
us focus on that?
I think if you are, uh, what was it? I think it was Louis D'Souza was speaking once about how you start small with LOA, and gradually things get stronger and stronger. Each you build on the success.
Hmm.
So if you start small and you get success with LOA, and then the next thing's going to be a little bit bigger. Next thing's going to be a little bit bigger. And next thing you know, you're building something. Things are happening that you wouldn't have even dreamed possible before, because you've built up this, what he calls the rocket of desire.
Hmm. Yep. Which, well, of course, he gets that from Abraham. That's what Abraham calls it.
Okay.
The rocket design. Yeah. But yeah, and he does. You're right. He talks about that quite frequently about how when well, and Abraham talks about that too. They talk about how when you're in that high on that high flying disc. That's the phrase they like to use. The
Right.
high flying disc. When you're on that high, it took me the longest time to figure out what the heck they were talking about with that, by the way. But once I finally understood it, no, vibration high all means how happy you are. Okay, got it. Now, why didn't they say that in the first place? But when you're on that high flying disc, um, everything comes easily because you're on a high flying disc. Everything, there's no resistance at that level, or very little resistance compared to, say, the lower levels. And that's what it's all about. We tend to get excited about the vibration because that's the positive way to look at it, and rightfully so. But it's also good to remember it's just lack of resistance. When you don't resist, stuff happens. It happens big. So looking at Jeffrey's question, he says, well, when we receive what we ask for all at the same time, well, that's a condition of very, very low resistance. Everything's just coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And in that kind of condition, you're feeling very, very good. So if you're feeling very, very good, could you be sporadically focusing? Yeah. Could you be continually focusing? Yeah. Could you be gradually increasing? Yeah. I mean, it's all of them. It applies,
Yeah.
yes. It's yes, 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 across the board. So, okay, that's my answer.
Okay, cool.
Um, Bill, do you have a question for us?
I got a Facebook related question.
All right.
I'm sure that we all have friends as Facebook friends out there who maybe we had a past with them or whatever. We love and care for them very much, but they're not feeling it. To the point where they post every negative thing that ever happens in their life. Whenever they're feeling, they seem to only post when they're feeling depressed, and they're seeking validation from their Facebook friends that they're still loved.
Mhm.
What do you do about that?
There is a wonderful tool on Facebook called Unfollow. That's where if
Right?
you're making friends, you still friends, you just don't see all the crap they're putting into their timeline.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And
Fact.
I've used that with relatives. I've used that with close friends. I've used it with distant friends. I've used it in a number of different cases. In fact, I'll be quite honest. There are very few items I let through on my timeline because I've gotten really, really selective. I only want to see stuff that makes me feel good. And if I see anything coming out from somebody that I don't feel good about, doesn't matter whether they thought it was positive or negative. It's how I feel about it. If I don't like it, I just unfollow it. Doesn't mean that I want to lose contact with them. It just means I don't want to see their stuff. That's all. And there's nothing wrong
Mhm.
with that. That's perfectly legitimate, I think. So there's my answer.
I agree with Walt. I am a firm believer in the unfollow button. However, there's another side of me who is very nosy, and I need to know what's going on in my friends' lives, good or bad. So I only use the unfollow button for politics reasons.
Oh,
Political
okay.
reasons. Okay.
That's
So
good.
other than that, like when you're complaining about your boyfriend, but then you get back with him a week later, I live for it.
Oh,
So
God.
I'm like, oh, but that's not what you were saying last week, So I do not unfollow those people. I am ashamed of it, but also very proud
No,
because
don't be ashamed of it. Actually, be proud of that because what you're really saying is their negative is your positive.
yeah, that's true.
Right? I mean, you're saying you like that. That's
it's
good. That's not
entertaining.
negative. That's
It's
good.
entertaining. Yeah, it's like why I watch reality shows. It's just sheer
Well,
entertainment.
that's what I was going to say. You do a podcast. Spoiler
Yeah.
alert. Because you love digging into all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So of course you're going to want to watch that. I mean, just because I
Yeah.
don't want to watch it in my timeline doesn't mean you shouldn't watch it in yours. That's crazy. We all have different tastes, right?
Yeah. But no, I do agree with the unfollow button. Don't defriend because they will find out and find you. And they'll be like, why aren't we friends anymore? What happened?
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting because they don't get a notification, and Facebook doesn't tell them you've been
Right.
defriended.
Right.
They just go find it, which,
Yeah.
which means there are a number of people who have a lot of time on their hands going through the friends list.
Okay. I go through my friends list. not to look for people who I didn't think were there anymore, but just to like delete people who I'm like, why did I add them in the first place? Like,
Well, I
were
was
we
doing
really?
that today. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Like I'm
perfectly honest, I cut my list was around 500. I cut it down to around 250. Just
right.
these
That's where
people
I'm
that
at.
I
Yeah,
really don't know anything about them. How did they get in there? I
right.
don't know. I must have said okay at some point. I have no idea who that person is.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm very selective with my friends. So if you're on my list, you should feel good that you got into the club because it's a very exclusive club.
Yes. So, thank you for letting us on your list if we're on your list.
You're welcome.
How about you, Bill? What's your answer to your own question?
It's a nuanced answer. I do believe in the unfollow button, but at the same time, there are certain friends that I do monitor to make sure that they are okay because I know that they are suffering greatly.
Mm,
Um, Due to personal reasons, or they suffer from depression, or they've got a clinical condition, and so I know if I unfollow them that I won't be able to monitor them per se, because I know their friends, I know their family, I know if I'm sensing that there's a serious problem here, that they're not just doing the love me posts, that there's a serious problem, then I know who to call to give them a hand. But yes, I also agree with you, Walt, that it can be a downer sometimes to read their posts, so I try not to read their entire posts. I just look
mm.
at I'll look at the just to get the basic gist of it, and if it looks like it's not too serious, then I'll just move on at that point.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, I hear you on that.
Mm,
In fact, I can think of a few cases where I have unfollowed but remained friends, and I will periodically go check their timeline.
hmm
That way, I can be seeing what's going on my terms rather than on their terms, so that okay, I'm in a good space. I can go check out, see if there's anything that's going on something I need to help with or something. And plus, I
Yeah.
also have the advantage of my wife and I have many in common. We're not the same, obviously, but many in common, especially family members. And she'll always cue me in, especially if it's somebody on my side of the family. By the way, did you see that post from so and so? Oh, thank you. I'll go take a look. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I still find out one way or another. It's just that I'm not being inundated with all this stuff. But I totally respect the way you guys do it. That's perfectly fine. That's the beauty of Facebook.
hmm
You can do Facebook your way. That's what's so good about it. And everybody's way is right. It's kind of a reminder of what Abraham says. Abraham says you can't get it wrong and you'll never get it done. And I just say you always get it right. That way you never even a mistake is doing it right. Everything. You didn't go to New Hampshire, you did it right.
Hmm.
You didn't get the homework done, you did it right. You got the job, you did it right. You didn't get the job, you did it right. You're always doing it right.
hmm
Hmm.
That's the beauty. We're always right.
Exactly. That's what I tell people. I'm always right.
I love it. I love it. Okay. I don't see a question in the live stream, so I think it's my turn. What do we have for a question? Okay. Something that Steve Rowell and I were talking about during the last show I did with him, which was early this morning. He and I were talking about the issues that are involved in kind of taking control, taking responsibility for what you focus on. And there are lots of different ways we can lose that focus throughout the day, week to week, and so forth. And so I think we've all experienced this. We go through times where we kind of have to catch ourselves and then redirect ourselves back into what feels good, and just keep dealing with stuff until we get ourselves back into alignment, and just keep pulling ourselves back, pulling ourselves back. Eventually getting to the point where, like Louis says, you don't have to pull yourself back all the time because you're on the high flying disc and everything comes easily.
hmm
Hmm.
But for those times when you have to pull yourself back, every once in a while we run into situations. I know I've run into it twice this week where, for at least a moment, and sometimes longer than a moment, I forgot how to pull my way back.
mm
Hmm.
And so I just wondered what kinds of what approaches do you use? And I'll tell you about a new one that I came up when I was talking with Steve today, and run that one by you too. But I don't want to I don't want to dissuade you one way or another by telling you in advance. So I just want to hear what you have to say first. So what methods do you guys like to use to get yourself back on track when you're struggling to get back on track?
Okay. Well, when I see clients, they're usually seeing me at very low parts. They're in a very low place because that's why they're seeking help.
Right.
And so it's very easy to get sucked into their drama.
Right.
I mean, it is because
Sure.
they're and so it can sometimes make you feel like you're afterwards you need to clear your space.
Hmm.
Mhm.
What I do is between client, I always make sure I have a little bit of a break between clients, and so I can clear the place with the pendulum and make sure that everything is back the way it should be. Um, I meditate every morning, but sometimes life just gets in the way and stuff
Hmm.
happens. And at those moments, when you're feeling your vibration is not quite as high as it needs to be, that's when you clear your schedule.
Clear the schedule. I like
Clear your schedule. Take a mental health day.
that.
Go do something you enjoy and refocus on what's important.
Mm.
Figure out, by taking breaks is extremely important, especially when the work that you're doing is dealing with um, uh, people's darkness.
Mm.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
you're working to put light in people's darkness, and yes, a lot of times actually most of the time the sessions go very very well, and we cover some really great stuff, and we clear out a lot of stuff, but it doesn't. But as you're clearing it, you're putting it in the room, and so you got to
Mhm.
clean out the room. You got to make sure that that's a nice clean space, and we can be magnets for this bad energy sometimes, especially for those of us who are really empathetic to other people's energy, and that's really a good hallmark of a good counselor, a good life coach, is empathy. But the
Mm.
problem with empathy is that you have a tendency to take on I mean, because as an empathetic person, you see somebody in pain, you want to take the pain away. It's like, oh crap, what do I do with this pain? And you're gonna put it on myself. And wait a second, now it's all stuck on me.
Ooh, gooey pain is on me. Oh no.
Oh yuck! So you got to keep yourself clean, and clear yourself out, and also check in with yourself to make sure that whatever was discussed during the session didn't hit any personal buttons of your own, because that can
Gotcha.
happen too. Because when you're with a client, you are with the client. You are focused on their healing and their alignment and their ascension. They are the most important person in the room. I mean, I saw a client last week, and she was asking me after I got done. We got done the session. She's like, "How can you speak with such confidence about
Mm.
what I did with my life and whatever? Because I still don't get it." And I said, "I speak with confidence because you are sitting right in front of me,
Mm.
because we got the message from spirit. We know what you did. We know why you did it, and now we're speaking with confidence that this is the direction you were going into, and we can." And I said, if the spirit gave us a completely different answer and went in a totally different direction, we would be speaking with just as much confidence,
Mhm.
and because it's all about them. But then when the session is over, if they told you something that they did that you completely disagree with, that you would have never done in your whole life, you got to clear that out, because it wasn't about you, it was about them.
Hmm. Okay. Hadn't heard that one before. How about you, Alex? What's your method? I mean, how do you deal with stuff like when you're having trouble dealing with stuff?
Uh, two phrases. This too shall pass,
Yeah.
and on to the next.
Aha.
That's
Don't
it.
dwell. Just keep moving
Nope.
on.
Yep.
That's a good approach. I like that. That's
Thanks.
good.
I like to keep it simple.
You do a great job of that, girl. Really good. Yeah. Nice and simple. The KISS principle works. It works beautifully. It really does.
Yeah.
Now, of course, with me, I was getting into, high levels of detail with Steve, partly because we're doing a podcast, and probably because that's what I do. I get into high levels of detail. That's me. And so as we were basically, peeling away layers and layers of onion, trying to, explore all sides of this issue, an idea came to me, and I ran it by Steve, and he really liked it too. I wanted to run it by you guys. Very often, we as deliberate creators will have certain practices that we do, like, Bill was mentioning meditation, and there's dozens of other practices that you can do. One thing that I realized I had not done came from something that Steve suggested, which is when you know how when you're trying to get into a good feeling place, you go after a memory, something that was strong and positive, to switch your
Mhm.
attention. So you take your attention off of the thing that you don't want to be on, and you focus on that good memory. Well, I was noting that very often when I try to remember something, it isn't nearly as strong as it was when I first experienced it.
Mhm.
Of
And
course,
he
because it's
suggested,
memory.
well, he suggested to me maybe you just need to spend more time focusing on experiencing it or
Mm.
re-experiencing it in your mind, because the more that
Mhm.
that's all the way, right? The more you focus on something, the stronger it becomes. I thought, well,
Yeah.
that's a really interesting idea. I wonder, and this is my idea, I wonder if maybe I, and maybe others too, I wonder if I shouldn't come up with a list, or maybe should come up with a list of various positive experiences that have occurred in my life, and then on a regular basis work through one and then the next one and the next one and just keep working through them until I can get them to the point where I can feel them just as strongly as I did the first day that I actually experienced them. Because now
Mm.
it's kind of like having your list of practices that you can rely on. You can just kind of say, okay, I need to do something to feel good. I'm going to go take a nature walk, or whatever's on your list. Well, now it's
Mhm.
a list of good things that you can go to that you can shift to feel good through memory, through remembering what happened. I'm thinking that could probably be a pretty powerful tool. What do you guys think?
I think having a positive memory bank is a excellent idea.
Have you ever tried doing that?
I was kind of doing that this morning. I was talking with my friend in Japan, and we were just reminiscing about growing up in the 90s and like all the toys we used to play with and how our parents were the age we are now and like well her mom was uncool, my mom was very cool. So we were just reminiscing for like literally 2 hours. It was fantastic and it was just left me with a good feeling for the rest of the day.
Ah, good. That's very cool. Yeah, that's one that you can draw on any time that you need to because you built it up
Yeah.
that way.
Mhm.
That's good. So you anticipate it. Very good. I'm impressed. I'm very impressed. How about you, Bill? Do you ever do anything like that?
I suppose it's I guess what I do is I think back to the things that I've always enjoyed and things that are very positive in my life, and I don't recreate them. I mean, I don't try and repeat the experiences in my mind because, like you said, the memory kind of diminishes, the feeling kind of diminishes each time you remember it sometimes.
Mhm.
That, because you're not living that experience. And so what I do is I latch on to the things that I enjoy, like role playing or just playing with my son. My son loves playing Minecraft and he loves having me in the same world as him and we're building stuff together. So it's if I can tap into my creativity and build something creative, then that is where I find my happy place.
Mm,
Not just the meditation, whatever. That's all. That's work. That I do that every day to just get myself ready for the day. But when I need to latch onto a good, happy feeling, I'll make up a happy story.
yeah, that's good. Well, that's a great skill to have, making up a happy story on the spot. That
Yeah,
that's a powerful skill because if you've
they're not
got
gonna
that,
win. They're not gonna win any Pulitzers, but
you don't.
but
You have an audience of one you have to satisfy. That's
that's
it.
right.
If you can satisfy that audience and to the point where you can actually stay with the story, you won. That's a victory right
That's
there.
right.
That's something we're celebrating. So, no, that's good. That's a great skill to have. So let's see, where are we? Alex, I think it's your turn. You got another question for us?
I don't have a question. I have a story that pertains to
Oh,
something you had mentioned a couple of podcasts ago.
okay.
What was the name of that book? The Magic Shop, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, into the magic shop. Yep.
The Magic Shop. Okay, so here I am. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. Obviously, I can't sleep because that's just what I do. And so I'm on Facebook, and Facebook knows I can't sleep, and they're like, "Are you still awake?" And I'm like, "Yes." Why? And
Why?
they're like,
Yeah.
you might want to try these meditation things that, this meditation app. And I was like, all right, it's free. I'll download it. So I downloaded it. And there was like 36 different meditation trips you could take. And one of them was the part of the story that you were telling me about Into the Magic Shop, about how the lady was teaching him how to meditate.
Oh, no kidding.
And they tell the whole story, and you end up falling asleep, but they gave me the worst nightmares.
Oh,
Oh my God. It was so bad. And I was like, is it me? I was like, all right, let me try it again. Let me try it again. Because I fell asleep for like 30 minutes, and then I woke back up because I was scared to death. And then I was like, all right, let's press play, try it again, because it's like 15 minutes of meditation. You fall asleep in like the first 5. And I fell asleep again, another set of nightmares. I was like, all right, deleting this app. So never mind. But I just want to let you know that it's out there, and it's called Sleep Stories for anyone who's looking for it. And it does have Into the Magic Shop, or yeah, that is on there. So
note to self: don't give the Into the Magic Shop book to Alex as a Christmas gift. Okay, got it.
yeah.
That's really wild, though, that it stimulated
It
nightmares.
was.
That's pretty
I was like, oh, I gotta save this because I gotta tell Walt. I've had it for like 2 weeks and I kept forgetting to tell you.
It almost makes me wonder if there was a reason why those nightmares had to come up.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, okay, what's really going on? Because I was like, my
Yeah.
life is great now. So like, what am I having nightmares about? And it wasn't like real life nightmares. It was like movies. It was weird.
Mm.
I don't, there were characters. I don't know what was going on. I woke up too fast to be able to concentrate and try to write it down and focus on what was actually happening. So I don't know.
Well, you pointed to it yourself. You said that things going well for you. Things are going really well. You're in a great place right now. That's a low resistance place.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it makes sense that if you got some stuff that's just been kind of churning down there and hasn't been able to get out, you just released it because you were in this really good place.
Well, I
That's
hope
what
I
I'm thinking.
released.
Yeah, well, maybe not entirely. If you went back and did it again and got the same result, maybe there was still some more to release there. But
Well, I'm not gonna try it a third time. You won't get me, Magic.
rather keep it buried. Yeah, I understand. Bill, I'm not sure how to tie you into that comment. Are you familiar with that book and when I did the
Yes.
readings?
Yes, I did. I listened to your podcasts
You
of
did. Oh, okay.
those. Yes.
Yes. Those were actually pretty well received too, which was good. I
Yes.
wasn't sure what was going to happen with that, but I liked the book. I enjoyed the book, so I figured why not share it. It was a good way
Yeah,
to.
yeah. I used to one of the things I used to do when I was traveling all the time when I did a lot of commuting is I would listen to books on audio,
Mm.
and so it was really nice to listen to a book and then get commentary on the book while you were reading the book because that's something you miss out on when you're just listening to someone reading the book.
Mm. Right.
Hmm.
Yeah. You like commentary then? I like generating commentary. I'm not sure I like listening to other people's commentary, which is
Yeah,
weird because I do a podcast, but
yeah.
go figure on that one. That's probably why I'm doing the podcast rather than listening to it.
Right.
So let's see, where are we? And whose turn is it? I don't even know whose turn is it. It is. No, Alex, you just came up with that one, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Was
it was
that
Bill's
was that
turn.
even a question?
No, it was a
Well,
story, but
Oh, okay.
it doesn't actually have to be a question. Just give us something to talk about that's fun, so that's good.
Okay.
Is it your turn or is it my turn? I can't remember where we're at.
I don't remember.
Bill's turn.
My
Is it
turn?
Bill?
Okay, it's my turn. All right. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank today. I had a stressful night.
All right. Well, then that leads to a topic right there.
There
Okay.
you
So
go.
you have a stressful night. What's your go-to for overcoming the fact that you're having a stressful night? How do you turn that around?
That is a good question. Um, well, first of all, you don't let your emotions get in the way. You you take a stock of how you feel about the situation, especially if it's a surprise. And this is not just, what I went through last night, but also if you get that call in the middle of the night where a relative has passed away or something like that, that can ruin your night.
Mm.
Mhm.
But you also have to realize that people are depending on you. That you, especially if you're like, in my family, though everybody in the house depends on me. So they always count on me to be the rock, no matter what crisis is going on. So when bad things happen, they come to me, and the expectation is that I'm going to always remain calm, that I'm always going to have a perspective of that, of a different perspective of what's going on, and that worst comes to worst, I'll break out my charts and the pendulum, and we'll tune into spirit, and we'll get an idea of what's going on, what are the positive energies and negative energies surrounding it, and try and clear it as best we can. So yes, that is my go-to.
That's good. That's a good process.
But then rest is always important, and I didn't get a whole lot of that last night. Uh, so, because I do taxes in the morning, so I'm
Mm.
doing people's taxes from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. and then I run home and then I get ready for the podcast. And then after I'm done here, it's making dinner and whatever. It's just it's the constant grind of life. And so tonight I'm going to, after everything's calmed down, I'm going to take some time for myself. I'm going to meditate again. I did it this morning, but I'll do it again, and
Mhm.
just take stock of what's important, and then hold on to that.
That's good. That's good. And actually, I was realizing as we were talking about this, this is a great topic for Alex to address because she has lots of opportunity to practice this. I mean,
Oh
what
boy.
do you call it? She's part of the sleepless elite. Is that what you call it? The sleepless elite?
Sleepless elite, yes.
Yes. So you're good at it. It's a skill for you. And
Yeah.
you have by necessity developed some pretty strong ways to deal with it because otherwise you'd probably be psychotic given how little
Yeah.
sleep you go with. But you're
I
not.
was for a
You're,
I
while.
I
Yeah.
have a
I went.
suggest I have a
before,
suggestion for you, Alex.
well, before
There's
before you give the suggestion, let's hear what she had to say first, okay?
uh,
Oh, I was just saying, yes, I did go through a psychotic period. I was hospitalized at least 3 times,
mhm.
and not,
Wow.
because along with insomnia came anxiety, depression, it all snowballed into one. So it was a fun couple of years, let me tell you.
Yeah, I'm sure. But you have a strategy though. I mean, what do you do now?
Let me see. For sleep, or lack thereof,
Well, more
I
about
just
stressful night, if the night is stressful.
I don't have stress.
Oh, well, that makes it simple.
It's funny because I was talking about this with my psychiatrist. I said, "Listen, he was like, what do you?" He asked me the same thing. What do you do for stress? And I said, "I don't have stress." And he goes, and he looks at me weird, and he was like, "Why are we here?" And I'm like, "No, there's a big difference between stress and anxiety. Anxiety is something you cannot control, and that is what I deal with. So I don't have stress because I don't have anything stressful in my life. So I don't know. Yeah,
So
but like
you've
I
actually managed to feel anxious without stressing it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, because I'm just used to it now, and I'm like I said, this too shall pass, and
Mhm.
on to the next.
Hmm. Okay. And then, Bill, what were you going to suggest, Alex?
Well, whenever I have an insomnia night, when having trouble sleeping, and daylight savings time always messes me up. I have jet lag for a week afterwards, and so what I do is I just recently found this app. It's drumming, shamanic drumming, and
Hmm.
you can listen to a 30 minutes of shamanic drumming, and then it shuts itself off automatically. And what it does is it puts your brain into that pre-sleep stage without getting and the drumming prevents the mind from going nutso with noise.
Yeah, I tried that.
You've tried that?
I tried
No,
that. It didn't work.
didn't work. Oh, sorry.
My brain's little hamster wheel keeps turning and turning and turning. That little hamster never gets tired.
All right. Well, I tried.
Took forever though.
It was a good attempt. That was a good attempt. Yeah, we'll have to figure out. I mean, I was thinking about what do you replace the hamster with? You definitely don't want the ever ready bunny. I mean, you don't want that.
No, no.
No,
So
no.
you got to have something that wears up, but you got to replace that hamster, no doubt about it. So we'll figure that out for next time. Anyway,
Yeah.
we are past time, so thank you guys. This has been a fun discussion. Thank you to our live stream audience, and thank you to our podcast listeners as well. By the way, if you're not yet a subscriber, what are you waiting for? Join us. There's a subscription button on the homepage, loatoday.net, and we hope that you will click it and walk it through and get all the episodes coming right to your phone. And in the meantime, we'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.